Welcome to Power Talks. I'm Beth Ann, and we can't say good morning to Melody again this morning. She is still on jury duty, but we hope to empower you with some truth. I hope you're doing well this morning, and we're keeping Melody in our thoughts and prayers as she's doing her duty as a citizen, and she has to sign up for jury duty. It's not always convenient, but it is necessary that we do that. I had some news that came across my computer today, and I believe it said breaking news, so I'm supposing that it is breaking news. It says the U.S. Navy challenged China's vast claims to the South China Sea on Thursday, which is today. The Navy officials are revealing this. The U.S. Navy conducted the third freedom of navigation operation under President Donald Trump in the South China Sea on Thursday, which is today. The Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer USS John McCain, DDG-56, sailed within 12 nautical miles of Mischief Reef in the Spratly Island chain, according to, this came from Fox News, but it came to me through the Daily Caller. So apparently we're going to at least let them know we have a presence. And as you know, we're dealing with a dictator in North Korea, and we're trying to get China to realize the importance of what's going on and the dictator's threats to not just the United States, but to South Korea and to others. Japan could be involved in this. North Korea has just gone nuts. I don't know. I guess they always were nuts. I had several things that I wanted to bring to you today that I think are good topics for discussion. So I'm going to throw out your phone number right now, 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. Now, I don't know if you're aware of the Google mess, and they fired a man that he seemed to recognize there were differences between the men and the women and how they were being treated, and so they got rid of him. I want to, before we get started, because several of these articles, at least the first ones that I have, are dealing with First Amendment. Now, I'm a woman, and I consider myself to be feminine, but I'm not a feminist. I believe in equality. I believe that you should get the same pay for the same work, but I believe you need to work. We have some issues that are coming up before the Supreme Court regarding the baker of the cakes and some other things that I thought you might find interesting. I wrote down here, liberal logic lies and loathes you. So the First Amendment we have here, and I have it in my hands. Congress shall make no respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress and grievances. You know, we fail to do that. We really do fail to do that. So, as we get started, I want you to consider and think about that First Amendment. Now, this is just a little funny thing that I thought I'd throw at you. This was going across Twitter, the Twitter feed. I follow that. I get articles and news from there. It kind of gives me a different source, a different outlet for that, for the news. This was somebody that's a little bit outraged about what happened at Google and how they're handling the situation. And this is kind of the way some of the feminists seem to think, and they titled this Google's handbook, Google's employer handbook. Males are oppressors, women are victims, but gender is a social construct, while also being a spectrum. Yet I was born in the wrong body, so I'm going to have a sex change, and I'm bisexual, but I hate men, yet I love gender diversity. So I celebrate our differences because we're all the same. But you use the wrong gender pronoun, so you're a sexist bigot. Did I make myself clear? That's the epitome of liberal logic and what's going on right now in this nation. I was talking to somebody last night. I said, what on earth is wrong with us? You know, you used to hear people back in the day, I have to find myself. I think some people are truly lost and cannot find themselves. They don't even know what gender, what sex they are. Depends on how they feel that day when they wake up. So I have an article here. This is what's kind of sparked me on this liberal logic, lies, and loathes. Because as they're talking about loving diversity, they're screaming hate towards anybody who's not like them. Or if you don't accept a certain thing in your life. Now, I don't believe in being mean. I don't believe in discrimination. But I believe you have a right to your faith and your beliefs. I believe you have a right to choose who you want for president. That doesn't mean I'm going to agree with your choice. But I'm not going to throw rocks at your windows. Well, once again, this is one of Hollywood's stars. They seem to be really confused. I don't know what they do. Apparently they don't do enough. This is Jennifer Lawrence. And I can't say because I try to be kind and I try not to be vulgar. But she wanted to, and she's using a hand motion, a particular finger, as you might say. And that's what she wants to scream at President Donald Trump. But in the same breath, she says, we must move past our divide and our anger. As she's screaming with anger at the president. So I wanted to read this quote from her because I thought, these people are very, very clueless, with a capital C. We can't continue this divide and anger. There are issues affecting us as human beings, not as liberals and not as Republicans. I will agree with that. I will agree with that statement. But she goes on, we have to protect the foundation of this country and acceptance. If you're preaching acceptance, accept immigrants, accept Muslims, accept everybody. Everybody. Do you think that she has security around her? I know that she does because it says here later she does. She said if Donald Trump becomes president, that will be the end of the world. That's what she said a few months back, several months back. A little bit of a drama queen, I do believe. But their idea of accepting everything and everyone is absurd. While they walk around, and in this article it talks about how she had extra security around her during one of her concerts. Yet, you're supposed to let everyone in this country, I suppose you should have them over to your house for dinner and let them sleep there. Doesn't matter if they're a felon, a drug dealer, a drug addict, a rapist, a murderer. They don't open their homes. They don't practice what they preach. And they don't practice any love as they're hurling insults at the President of the United States and making hand gestures. I think her mother failed to teach her how to be a lady. So that's one thing. They're screaming up acceptance. They're screaming the First Amendment. Basically, that's what she's screaming. And then we go on, and it's going to the Supreme Court here shortly. 2 years ago. Now, this came out on the 3rd of August, this article, and it's from the National Review, a great place, a great source to get information. Now, this article is several pages long, so there's no way I can share all of it with you, but I'm going to share the first little bit of it with you. The continuing threat to our religious liberty. 2 years ago to this day, which was August the 3rd, after the Supreme Court redefined marriage back in Oberfell, the court announced that it would hear a case about the extent to which private parties may be forced to embrace this new vision of marriage. The case involves Jack Phillips, a Colorado baker, who declined to bake a wedding cake for a same-sex wedding reception. Now, when you bake these cakes, it's more than just baking the cake and saying, here, I sold you a cake. They normally actually serve the cake. They work the event. Okay? Now, I don't know if that was the case here, but I know that's the case in many cases with weddings and such. There was nothing remarkable about Philip's decision. With every cake he designs, Jack believes he is serving Christ. He had previously turned down requests to create Halloween-themed cakes, lewd bachelor party cakes, and a cake that was celebrating divorce. Yet Jack was never reprimanded over those decisions. He found himself in hot water only when the same-sex wedding cake came to light. The immediate question before the Supreme Court is whether it's constitutional or for Colorado to penalize Jack under its sexual orientation and gender identity. That's SOGI, anti-discrimination statute. But the case has implications for millions of believers from every walk of life and beyond that, for the health of our culture and our constitutional system of ordered liberty. While there has always been disagreement about what religious liberty requires, in particular cases, the idea of religious liberty as a fundamental human right has more or less been a consensus in America. It became controversial only in recent years as the government tried to force religious conservatives to violate their beliefs on sex and marriage, and as a liberal advocacy forced religious conservatives to violate their beliefs on sex and marriage, and a liberal advocacy group decided that civil liberties aren't for conscientious objectors to the sexual revolution. That's why, oh yes, that's why we saw the American Civil Liberties Union oppose Catholic nuns when they attempt to get out of the Obamacare, HHS preventive care mandate, in which the Department of Health, Human Resources required employers to provide insurance covering sterilization and birth control, including forms of birth control that prevent embryos from implanting in the uterus, thereby causing abortion. That is going to be going, this cake baker's story is going to be going, or trial is going to be going to the Supreme Court. It's going to be heard by the Supreme Court. Religious liberty seems to be only for other religions outside of Christianity. It's nothing new for Christians to be persecuted, reprimanded, belittled, made fun of. How long will it be before they're throwing us into the lion's den one more time? Or burning us to the stake? Well, if you're ISIS, they're already doing that. You know, there is no such thing as separation of church and state. There is such a thing as church out of the state. The state cannot form a church. There's more to this. I have another baker story, and I want you to hear this, because this tells you just exactly where the hearts of the liberals seem to be. You're listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody in the Morning. Melody in the Morning is at jury duty, but your calls are welcome at 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. And you know what? Power Talks. And we'll be back with some more powerful talk in just a moment.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Have you seen the Left Behind movies? Have you read the Left Behind fictional book series? Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy, in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. Because they see the world stage shaping to fulfill what they have been led to believe is sound biblical interpretation, a left-behind rapture scenario, this false view of prophecy is reinforced in the mind, not only of its adherents, but also includes those who have been merely exposed to the specific media. Is it possible that false prophecy can be fulfilled? The rapture theories have always been in dispute. Pre-trib, mid-trib, and post-trib disputes have risen up in exclusively evangelical circles of recent history, so that when true believers don't suddenly disappear, this element will easily go by the wayside when all see a new Jewish temple begin to be built. Will this be part of the great delusion that will come upon the whole earth? It seems that this great prophetic delusion has already overcome practically the entire American evangelical and Christian world. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. To learn more, visit crosstheborder.org. That's CROSS, crosstheborder.org.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody in the Morning, but Melody in the Morning is in jury duty, so you're listening to Beth Ann. The number to call if you want to join in our conversation is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. So we're going to go to a different baker. Now, maybe if you've watched or heard any of the news, you heard about the little boy, 9-year-old boy, who absolutely just idolizes and adores President Donald Trump. Well, the 9-year-old's mother, it says the mother of a 9-year-old California boy who wrote a letter to President Trump in July, said that bakers in her area refused to bake her son a birthday cake featuring President Donald Trump. Now that is bigot and discrimination. They can't claim anything on religion basis there. Just hate. This liberal logic lies and loathes you. The Washington Post reported that Dylan Harbin's mother made her son a Trump-themed cake for his birthday after she could not find a bakery in the Stockton area willing to make one. Well, that's quite a mom. Harvard's mother said that she herself is not political, but wanted the cake for her son because she is 100% supportive of her children. Breitbart News reached out to 8 different bakeries specializing in custom-made cakes in the Stockton area for comment, but to the timing of this publication, they never responded. Harbin also, his nickname is Pickle, wrote a letter to the president that was read aloud by Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and that was in the 26th of July. And they tried to verify the letter, which was to make sure that it was authentic, and it seemed to be. It said other bakeries have turned down requests to bake Trump-themed birthday cakes. A Louisiana supermarket's bakery department refused to bake a Trump 2016 cake for a teenager's birthday, but released a statement apologizing for the incident after it made headlines nationwide. Now, this little boy's letter has made the national news because Sarah read it in a press conference. She read it, and she also they tweeted it out. They took a picture of it and they tweeted it out. Well, Bill Maher took that letter and read it on his show and made fun of this little boy's spelling. He's 9 years old, and now he's claiming at 9 years old he shouldn't make any mistakes in his writing. Well, I think it's wonderful that they let it be him. He left the E off of R and just had AR, and there was something else that he spelled wrong, and Bill Maher was making fun of him. And then made fun of the public school system, which maybe that's okay. These are the liberal logic lies that loathe you if you don't agree with them. I wouldn't let Bill Maher babysit a 9-year-old. I don't trust the man. He's not kind. We know he's, as they said the other night, he's a racist. I don't know if he truly is. I know he used bad language. He uses foul language all the time. But this is what the liberals do. And then they claim acceptance. No, they just want you to accept them the way they are, in their vulgarity. And we're supposed to accept the LGBT, and I just don't. I don't hate them, but I don't approve of their lifestyle. But I don't hate them. But I probably wouldn't honor a wedding. It's getting to be insane what we're putting up with in this nation. And why are we putting up with it? So I've got articles here with all kinds of craziness in it. The corruption, the lies, the collusion that's going on. And in my next show that comes up an hour right after this hour, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I've got a guest. Mindy Patterson will be with me. And she's with the Cavalry Group, which is an advocacy group for people who raise livestock. Whether you're a pet breeder, whether you're a horse and carriage taker in New York or Chicago or Kansas City or wherever that is, circus, magician with rabbits, a rancher, a farmer. Whatever you may be, if you raise animals or love animals. And the lies that are coming from the left and these radical animal rights groups and how they are attacking others. So you don't want to miss that. And then we see what's going on in D.C., and I call them D.C. occupiers, and how they're not representing you and me, the people. Now, Mitch McConnell makes a comment. Now, I want to just talk about that briefly. He laments that Trump's excessive expectations for perception of Congress is unproductive. Well, Congress is unproductive, but it's not because Trump expects too much of them. It's because we, the people, expected them to honor their word, and they have not. Let me tell you why they didn't repeal Obamacare. It's very simple. They didn't want to. And they're making money off of these deals. That's why I call them D.C. occupiers, occupying offices and cutting deals. But these deals have nothing to do with making life better for you. They line their pockets. Make life better for Big Corp. The insurance companies, many of them are getting, it didn't work out so well for them. I believe Obamacare is doing exactly what it was expected to do. Fail. Fall apart, collapse down to one provider. But Mitch McConnell, the work ethics of Congress, not just the Senate, but of Congress, all of them, it's poor. It's poor as far as representing you and I, you and me. But the Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is blaming Donald Trump's excessive expectations for what he considers an unjust perception that Congress under his leadership has not been productive. Do you think Mitch McConnell's been productive? You know they've got a new slogan, Ditch Mitch. Do you think they should ditch Mitch? Well, let me tell you. Here's the number to call. 202-224-3121. And that's the switchboard for D.C. You tell them, ditch Mitch. That his work ethic stinks and he needs to go home and retire. Ditch Mitch McConnell. His work ethic. As if there was any. As if there was any. We have been witnessing this corruption, and we've heard Russia, 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 on and on and on. Well, there is a collusion, and the collusion is them versus we the people. I don't think it's so much Russia. But I'm going to share some of this with you. And I know you've heard it, but I want you to put your thinking hat on. And I want you to think about what's really been perpetrated in D.C. with the D.C. occupiers. And we're talking about both the Republicans and the Democrats. But the Democrats have been screaming and pointing and collusion of Russia with Donald Trump and his administration or his campaign. What's the old saying? When you point at somebody, there's three fingers pointing back at you. Well, the DOJ lawyer sent FBI talking points on Clinton Lynch tarmac meeting. What did they discuss on the tarmac? And here's another one. The DNC slapped with FEC, don't you just love the alphabet, complaint for colluding with Ukraine during the election. One of the most egregious aspects of the media's coverage of alleged Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election is its refusal to report on the efforts of the DNC in the Ukraine to get Hillary Clinton elected president. Watchdog group Foundation for Accountability and Civics Trust, called FACT, agrees and have filed a complaint with FEC over the alleged collusion between the DNC and the Ukraine. Now, there is evidence here. They have not come up with any evidence against the Trump administration. The conservative group Foundation of Accountability and Civics Trust, FACT, launched in 2014 by former U.S. Attorney Matthew Whitaker, will allege that political operative Alexandra Chalupa, in her capacity as a DNC consultant, improperly sought intelligence on President Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, from Ukraine officials. Now, I don't know how clean or how dirty Paul Manafort is. I know he wasn't in the campaign for very long before he was out. But if you'll recall, yesterday they were making the announcement that his home had been raided by the FBI. But that happened in July, and we're just now finding out about it. Federal law and commission regulations prohibit any person from knowingly soliciting, accepting, or receiving contributions or donations of money or other things of value from a foreign national. Fact alleges that Chalupa violated the ban by knowingly soliciting a valuable in-kind contribution in the form of opposition research and information on Trump's campaign official from a foreign national on behalf of the Democrat National Committee. The complaint is based on an investigation by Politico, which found that Chalupa met with top officials in the Ukrainian embassy in Washington in an effort to expose ties between Trump and top campaign aide Paul Manafort and Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia. Let's move on, because there is more. I think I have it here. I'm not sure if I do or not. But the IT of the DNC, it says here, how did the Democrats' IT scandal suspects get here? The suspects. Here's a radical proposition. Now, that article I just read came from a different source. I don't have the source on it, The Hill. And this one's coming from the Daily Signal, which is part of the Heritage Foundation. How did the Democrats' IT scandal suspects get here? Here's a radical proposition. It says the public has a right to know the immigration status and history of foreign criminal suspects. Especially if they're helping with a national political party. Their interest and employment sponsorship records should be treated like classified government secrets. Should not be, it says. Especially if the public's tax dollars subsidize their salaries. In March, I contacted the D.C. office of House Congressional Democrats Joaquin Castro of Texas and Sander Levin of Michigan and Marcia Fudge of Ohio, Greg Meeks of New York, and Ted Douche of Florida. These public officials have at one time or another employed one of 3 Pakistani Muslim brothers or their family and friends caught up in the criminal theft and hacking probe of the House Democrats' information security systems. Now, if you remember, the DNC, the Democrat National Committee, the FBI wanted to come in and check their computers and such because it appeared that they had been being hacked by who? Russia. But the DNC refused to let them in. They didn't want them looking at anything on their computers. And so they didn't let them in. And now we're finding out that this IT guy who's tried to skip the country was up to no good. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz was doing her utmost to protect him. Do you wonder why? The DOJ lawyer sent the FBI talking points on the Clinton-Lynch tarmac meeting, it says. The former Attorney General Loretta Lynch's close aide at the Department of Justice suggested edits to the FBI about the high-profile meeting between Lynch and former President Bill Clinton last year. They met on the tarmac. Do you remember that? Lynch and Clinton exchanged words on an airport tarmac last summer during the FBI's investigation into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's email server. Newly released Justice Department emails show that Paige Herwig, whose title was counselor to the Attorney General at that time, helped edit the first media statement responding to inquiries about the tarmac meeting. Former DOJ Public Affairs Director Melanie Newman sent her counterpart at the FBI an email 2 days after the meeting, just as the media began to report on the story. She included a transcript of Lynch's answers to questions about the meeting asked the day before and some talking points from the department, which were later redacted. Other talkers on this are below, and it lists them here. And with the transcript, the Phoenix Presser, where she was asked about this, Newman said in the email, "Happy to discuss further by phone. Please let me know if you get any questions about this. Thanks." The former FBI Director, James Comey, admitted in June that Lynch contacted him about the investigation and directed him not to call it an investigation, but to call it a matter. It was only a matter. Well, maybe if the American people see any kind of justice, it will soon be a matter. It'll soon be a matter of incarceration. Will truth come out? I think we can see it, but they want to ignore it. Because the elite in D.C., those D.C. occupiers occupying offices, cutting deals to line their own pockets, seem to live by a different standard, live by a little more charmed life. And they don't have to be held accountable. What Hillary Clinton did, or what I believe she did, was treasonous. I believe what Congress is doing many times is treasonous. I believe when they sign a document they haven't read, a law into legislation into law that they have not read, I believe that is more than just poor work ethics. I believe that is a form of treason against we the people, because we put at least a breach of contract. We put them in place for them to do certain things, like repeal Obamacare. We're expecting too much. Our expectations are way too high to think that the Senate could actually vote repeal. Because it's complicated. It's way more complicated than we the people, could ever possibly understand. There is some truth to that, but not much. They make it complicated. They make it colluded, convoluted, with their page after page after page of legislation that makes no sense unless you're a lawyer, an attorney. Those who make the laws practice the laws, but they don't necessarily keep the laws. So Mitch McConnell, we're just expecting way too much. The people are expecting too much, and it's Donald Trump's fault because he's made the expectations too high. There's no way anything can get done that fast. How fast? You've had 7 years to think about this. How fast? And now we're into August. It's the 8th month of this year. What do they do in D.C.? Do you ever wonder what they do? Ditch Mitch. 202-224-3121 is D.C. switchboard. 717-300-1218 is the number to call me here at Power Talks. 717-300-1218. Yesterday, we talked about the schools. You know, the campaigns, particularly Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, about free college. Oh yeah, the college students were all about that. They got a lot of those votes. But there is no such thing as free. And those college students, once they get out of college and they start working and trying to pay off those student loans and get married and try to take care of family, they're going to understand and find out very quickly that there's nothing free. Somebody has to pay for it. Well, there was a scandal in Berkeley. You do remember that, right? They had a lot of rioting going on there, too. The scandal plagued Berkeley chancellor, and this Berkeley chancellor, he sort of kind of got fired, but he gets $434,000 to do nothing for 1 year. Oh, wouldn't you like to be punished like that? Nicholas Dirks, the University of California, Berkeley chancellor, who stepped down this summer after numerous scandals, will be paid $434,000 to take a 1-year paid vacation. Boy, you could really vacation on that, couldn't you? The San Francisco Chronicle reports that Dirks is taking advantage of an existing university policy that allows an administrator to collect up to 100% of their full salary for an entire year while doing no work at all on the campus. Must be getting ready to be a politician. The paid year off is a benefit provided under a policy approved by the University of California at least for 17 years now that rewards executives who are also tenured professors and they will return to the classroom. And it gives them this time off. It goes on to explain in this that it gives them that time off to further their education because they can't do that while they're teaching, apparently. You know, there's a lot of people who work and go to school. They either work nights and go to school during the day, or they work during the day and they go to school at night. But not professors. They can't do that. Dirks will receive 82% of his previous executive salary. And his previous executive salary is $531,900, in spite of only being with the university for 4 years. So I guess he was already tenured after 4 years. Must have liked him a lot, but now they don't like him so much. We're going into a break. Your calls are welcome at 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. You're listening to Power Talks, and we believe truth is in the power of the talk. And we will be right back.
You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com worldwide. Freedom is never free. We need your support today at FirstAmendmentRadio.com.
Visit CrossTheBorder.org, C-R-O-S-S, CrossTheBorder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's CrossTheBorder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit CrossTheBorder.org, C-R-O-S-S, CrossTheBorder.org, to get your print, EPUB or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com worldwide. Freedom is never free. We need your support today at FirstAmendmentRadio.com.
And Beth Melody isn't here. She's here in spirit, but she's on jury duty. So we were talking about this chancellor that's getting paid. His normal salary is $531,900. He got in trouble last year. There was a lot of trouble in Berkeley last year. And so he resigned in this summer. But he's getting 82% of his salary. So he gets fired, and for 1 year, he gets $434,000. $434,000. He'd only been there for 4 years. If he had been there 5 years, he would have received the full salary. Well, he pretty much did. I mean, I think I could make it off of that. Maybe a couple of years I could make it off of that. Maybe 4 or 5 years. The Chronicle notes the outrage of Assemblyman Phil Ting, he's a Democrat of San Francisco, whose call for the audit of the UC's finances last year rocked the liberal establishment, uncovering, if you remember this, I talked about it on my other talk show, they uncovered a $175 million slush fund that the president, Janet Napolitano, hid. She hid that while she was campaigning or whatever to increase the students' charge for college. We keep asking for more access for California students. The UC tells us we have to find state funding for it. See, they were after more money, so they hid this $175 million. But they seem to have all the funding they need when it comes to executive compensation and executive parachutes. In other words, they need the money, but they have plenty of money to pay this guy after they fire him for a year. Dirk's tenure as chancellor was rocked by numerous scandals, including a $150 million budget deficit, a series of sexual harassment scandals within the university, and a number of riots on campus. But it was Dirk's persistent mishandling of sexual harassment claims against an assistant chancellor, and numerous professors that proved his undoing, irking the embattled Napolitano. Well, we know Janet Napolitano is not a very honest person herself. These students, is there any wonder why college is expensive? it's run by the Democrats or the liberals. So is there any wonder they can't balance a budget? They have to keep asking for more and more tuition from these students. And when someone gets in trouble, I don't know how deep that sexual harassment went, but apparently he didn't have to pay much. I guess the college will have to pay that fine if that comes to that. It doesn't go into that kind of detail. This is mostly about this Democrat representative that's pretty upset. He's an assemblyman. He's an assemblyman that's upset that the university keeps asking for more and more state funding. They keep asking for more and more tuition from these students, and they seem to have plenty when it comes to taking care of themselves. And Janet Napolitano, the president of the university, hid the $175 million because they couldn't let them know they had that, or they wouldn't get more funding. We started out Power Talks with the First Amendment and several stories of such being being questioned, going to the Supreme Court. And while the liberals are enraged over not baking a cake for a gay wedding, they're okay with not baking a cake for a birthday that had any kind of Donald Trump promotion on it. They're okay with that refusal, but not with the other. The little blonde, well, you say she's blonde. She may not be blonde because they always change their hair color, that was upset and angry with Donald Trump, and the world was going to come to an end if he got elected. You know, what happened to all those that were going to leave? They didn't leave, and now we have to deal with them. Now we have to put up their safe spaces. I'm trying to find her name. It was Lawrence, wasn't it? And she wants to say, here it is. She wants everybody. We should accept everyone into this country. We should accept everyone. Well, here's an article from Fox Business. U.S. Treasury Department said on yesterday, it had sanctioned Mexican soccer star Rafa Marquez and more than 20 others for suspected links with an accused drug kingpin, tarnishing the reputation of one of Mexico's sporting giants. Marquez, along with a popular singer known as Julian Alvarez, and nearly 24 other Mexican nationals, is accused of financial ties with Raul Flores Hernandez, a suspected drug trafficker with links to the Sinaloa cartel, I know I'm saying that wrong, forgive me, and the Jalisco New Generation gang. Let everyone in. Don't suspect anyone. Don't check their credentials. Let everyone in. Be all-inclusive. We need to have everyone here. It says Hernandez has operated for decades because of his long-standing relationships with other drug cartels and his use of financial front persons to mask his investments or illegal drug proceeds, OFAC. Director John E. Smith said in a statement, calling the move a major joint action with Mexico. Well, finally Mexico's with us on something. So this drug cartel guy, he uses these celebrities as a cover. But we should let everyone in. Yes, just let everyone in. You don't even need to lock your doors at night. You don't need to be concerned about anything. Let them all in. I don't know about you, but I'm really getting tired of hearing this silly rhetoric. The liberal logic lies that loathe you. You're the bad guy. You're the bigot. If you have a faith, a Christian faith, that believes in the sanctity of marriage between one man and one woman. That means your sex you were born with, not what you decided later. You're the bigot. You're the racist. You're the evil person. And yet, they make absolutely no sense. Just like that silly little thing I read there at the beginning. Somebody put this out. Males are oppressors, women are victims, but gender is a social construct, while also being a spectrum. Yet I was born in the wrong body, so I'm going to have a sex change, and I'm a bisexual, but I hate men. Yet I love gender diversity, and I celebrate our differences because we're all the same. But you use the wrong gender pronoun, so now you're a sexist and a bigot. Did I make myself clear? It's very clear to me that these people are confused and they're sick. And by accepting them, by ignoring what's going on, I guess we're kind of enabling them. Now maybe some of you don't like me saying that, but I really don't hate these people, but I do feel bad for them. They must live in a life so full of hate and be so unhappy. You know, when they have the gay pride parade and marches, the vulgarity that is there, and they want me to believe that that is normal? No, I don't think so. Read that First Amendment again. Read all of the Declaration of Independence again and the Bill of Rights. Read them. Read your Constitution and know what you believe. Do you really understand what freedom and liberty is? The freedom that they want is chaos. Liberty has some control. Liberty loves life. So, as Power Talks closes for today, rejoice in life and liberty and be free.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today. so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.